Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video we'll be talking about Azure Private Link. So let's go ahead and start. So for this specific Azure Private Link, I have created a different resource group. So I have named it as Private Link. So to create this, you can just click create under the resource group and add the relevant name. So once this is done, make sure that you review and create it. So that is how I have created a Private Link resource group. So once this is done, you can click that, and these are different resources that I have created inside this particular resource group. So to do that, just click create, and initially I have started with virtual network. So let's add virtual network. So let's click virtual network here and create, and here make sure that you select the appropriate resource group in which it's private link, and you also check the region, which is East US, and let's add as my VNet. Let's say 2. Once this is done, let's go to the IP address, and we have to change this. And before that, you can see here we have to enable Azure Vision. So basically it provides secure RDP SSH connectivity to your virtual machines directly in the Azure portal over SSL. When you connect with this Azure Vision, your virtual machines do not need a public IP address. So make sure that you select this, and you see whenever you select this, there is a new prompt which has came in the IP address. So here you have to add, you can see Azure Vision requires a subnet named this particular name, so we have to add this one as well. So I'll just delete this default one, and in this case I have added a new IPv4 address space, so which is 10.0.0 and /16. So where is that? There you go. So add it, and under this I have added the subnets. So I have added 2 different subnets here, so I'll be showing you just in a minute. So once this is done, make sure that you review and create it. So let me show you that subnets that has been created. So in this case we'll go to the my VNet, and under subnets you can see there are 2 different subnets, which is my VNet subnet and Azure Vision subnet, so which we have seen. So to use this, you have to have this particular subnet. So once this is done, you can create it, and this will be the configurations for the, my VNet. And once my VNet is completed, the next one is you have to create a virtual machine. So for that, let's go back to our resource group and click create, and let's select virtual machine. So click virtual machine, click create, and make sure you select the appropriate subscription and the resource group. And coming to the name, let's add it as VM1. And coming to the region, since we are dealing with East US, make sure that it's East US. So coming to the availability zones option, it should be no infrastructure required. So once this is done, coming to the image, it should be 2022. So you can select other as well. So but in this case I'm following the docs, so I'll be using 2022 data center. So once this is done, go down and make sure that I add the username as well as password, and do remember that, because to connect to your virtual machine you have to remember this password. And coming to the public inbound ports, it should be none. Okay, so once you select none, it's done. So next you have to go to the networking stage, and in this networking stage you can see a public IP. So coming to the public IP, make sure that it's none, and NIC group is a basic, and the next public inbound is none. So these are the configurations that we have done for this virtual machine that has been created. So if I go back here, so this is the virtual machine that has been created. So and apart from this, once this virtual machine has been created, the next thing I have done is creating a web app. So search for web app, or you can just go to your private link and add web app. So once this is done, web app, you can click the web app and click create. So you see the configurations now. Coming to web app name, you can add web app, and app is not available, so make sure that you add some numbers here. And coming to this one, I'll be using .NET 6 East US, and that's it. So once it is done, now make sure that you review and create it with the default settings. So once it's done, let's go back here, private link. So coming to the app service, this is what we have created. So I have created my web app 9949.azure websites. So you can see this is able to access. So we were able to access this, and now the next stage is we have to go to our VM. So if I click VM1, and here you have to connect. So you can see there is an option called base, so click that, and here you will be prompted to username and password. So add the relevant username and password. Once this is done, click connect. So whenever you connect, there will be a new tab which will be opened. So this is the particular tab that has been opened. So if there are any blockers, make sure that you remove them so that you can able to access this VM. And here I have used 10x lookup command and the web app that we have just created. So you can see it is able to access using a public IP address. Now let's try to implement private link, and let's see how this is gonna work. So let's go back here, and so here let's go and add the private endpoints. So click click create, and subscription one and the resource group. Coming to the name, let me add it as my private endpoint. So this is the one, and the relevant NIC. So once this is done, let's go to the resource section, and here make sure that you select connect to an Azure resource in my directory, and select the appropriate subscription. And coming to the resource type, it will be my it's a web. Where is web? Let me check. There you go, sites. So if we talk about the previous video, we have talked about the service endpoints in which there were no much options, so we couldn't filter further. Whereas in this case, you see we have different options and we can filter furthermore. So coming to the resource, you can see you can click here. Whereas if that is a service endpoint, you can just click one option. So in this case, we can also select the app that we have created. In this case, we have only one app, so we'll be selecting this one. And you can also select the target sub resources. So if you click here, you have sites. So now let's go to the next one, which is virtual network, and it's my VNet and my subnet. So it's 3.1.0.024. That's good. So coming to the network policy for the private endpoints, click edit, and in this case, let's select the route tables. Click route tables. The change will affect all the private endpoints associated with this subnet, and click save. So once this is done, the next thing is the private IP configuration. So you can see dynamically allocated IP address. So one next section, which is DNS, and in this case, so let's leave default, and let's go to the next tags. So you can add new tags, but here I'm just leaving it default, and then just review and create it. So it's done. So just create it, So it's in a deployment stage. So once this is done, let's try to check whether we are able to access this particular website using the same public, or it will be going through the private. So in the meantime, since it's in the deployment stage, let's see what the private link that we have did right now. So basically, the Azure Private Link is a feature that enables you to access Azure services such as Azure Storage, Azure SQL Database, and or Azure Kubernetes Service over a private endpoint within a virtual network. So this means that your traffic stays within the Microsoft Azure network and does not go out to the public internet. So with Azure Private Link, you can access Azure services securely and with low latency, while also benefiting from the security and isolation capabilities of Azure Virtual Network. In simpler terms, Azure Private Link helps you to securely private access Azure services from within your own network without needing to go out of the public internet. So that is what the definition of Azure Private Link is. So basically, once it is deployed, it should go to the private tunnel instead of public. So let's wait for the deployment stage. It's still going on. So there you go, the deployment has been completed. So let's go back to the resources here. So the private endpoint has been created. Now let's try to test our connectivity. So let's go to our virtual machine and use the same command again. So you can see here it's going through the private IP. This is how the private link works. So I hope you guys have understood the concept of today's video. And if you like the video, please click the like button below. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel and please share the video. Thanks everyone.